This is Dropping Hints.
I'm Alex.
I'm Silas.
In this podcast, you'll catch a glimpse of our everyday conversations. Okay, so Silas, you have an interesting opinion. You think that music is better than life itself.
That's a little extreme. I
You
said
just
it's the,
literally
I
told
said
me.
it's the best common grace that humans get to enjoy. Speaking very generally.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about that today and
Let's talk about that.
understand. No, we're not them.
We're not them.
And understand what you mean. But first, I think it'd be very helpful if we got a definition.
Oh,
What is your definition of music?
well, I would say that it's any. This really hurts to say this. Because
Say it anyway.
there's a lot of stupid things that are taken advantage of this. I would say it's any. If we're going to put a definition on it, it has to be like an
What
all
is
or
your
nothing
definition of it? That's what I want to know.
It has, if it's any kind of noise or sounds made with noise or sounds
Said noise.
made with the intent to have some kind of tonality to it. So, for example, the wind rustling through the trees on its own is not music. I wouldn't define that as music. But in like various songs that I've heard and listened to, there's like audio of that woven into the music. So then it becomes musical because the intent has now been to use it for some kind of tonality.
Well, what if, based on that, okay, this, I think there might be some holes in that definition.
Yeah, because people like John Cage exist.
I don't know who that is.
He's a classical composer, I think from the 40s, who has like a 40-minute piece. Most of it is just silence. And what he does is he like sticks forks in between piano strings and then like, I don't know if this is exactly what he does, but I'm trying to make up some ridiculous thing that this man would do. And then he like plucks this piano string. So it just makes like a like pitiful little and then
But
like
his
it's just
intent,
silence. It's like 6 minutes of silence. That's his song.
But that's his
piece.
intention.
That's his intention.
So under your definition,
under my
that's
definition,
music.
it must technically qualify as music.
So what if the
which
listener?
is why there's always.
What if the listener's intent on listening defines whether or not it is music? You know, there's that expression.
That's what I was going to say.
That's music to my ears. You know, you say, "Hey, Mom, I took out the trash." Ah, that's music to my ears. Whatever. What if it's the listener who defines what music is instead of the musician? Because that's how art works.
Sometimes there's a Venn diagram of the musician is also, of course, listening. You know, but
Yeah.
generally speaking, that's also what I was gonna. That's what I was gonna say is
Okay.
that there has to be some kind of personal like interpretation of it.
So
I think
either the
that's
person
probably the best definition.
originating the music or somebody else outside of them has to want to listen to these assembled notes and noises,
Or lack of notes. Even.
or
in
absence of-
some moments, you know, lack of notes. And the
but
latter is
for it to be music in your definition, there has to be at least one note.
I would say
in
that
the designated
for
piece.
me, I would not personally like enjoy music that lacked any kind of tone, like that was completely atonal.
So just silence.
Like silence, or just like this, like somebody who says like, oh, like this is my new song, and it's just like the sounds of nature. I would be like, this is just the relaxing sounds of nature. Now, if you took that and like, you know, tried to add a different kind of tonality to it, that would be it. But I think that the latter definition of it being more on the part of the listener is probably the best definition. I didn't think of that because the maker of the music there's like they also kind of are already in that category of like the listener too, because they're making it and hearing it and like interpreting it as they're making it.
Okay. Well, now that we confused ourselves even more
Now that we're thoroughly good and confused.
Nice. And it's clear that we have no idea what we're talking about.
That's
So you
the
said
way music is, man.
You-
Subjective.
so you said that music is the best common grace to all mankind.
Very, very flippantly speaking. I don't want to get into some theological debate with any of y'all in the comments about, because our comment section is fire. I know. I don't want to get into any theological debate about what a common grace and all that. I just generally speaking.
Let me stop you right there.
I think that you can understand my intent for that phrase by saying it.
So you think it's okay? So music, okay.
Music.
If we think about the human senses, okay, how do humans interact with the physical world around them
that God has created? Yes.
Mm-hmm. So you think it's better than our sense of touch and feeling, and that we can, have
fingers
fingers and hands, and feet and arms that move in the world,
swimming through the water. Yes.
So you'd be okay being a vegetable as long as you could listen to your music.
Well, we'll think about it this way. If there was no, this is like the beginning of Lord of the Rings. This is one of the ways why I feel this way, and it's clarified this. Okay. In the beginning of the Silmarillion, you've read it. In the beginning of the Silmarillion, the way that have you read it? Okay, I'm gonna just take a second and really deep dive.
Let the reader understand.
Let the reader understand. At the beginning of the Silmarillion, which is the which is not a prequel, but it's before Lord of the Rings. The beginning of the Silmarillion is the creation account of, they call it Arda. That's the world of Arda. And the way that Arda is created is, first off, we know Tolkien has like some serious like theology woven into everything. Obviously, this is not like the Bible, and it's not theology, but you know what I'm saying. There's a lot of parallels. The way that the world is created is through what they call the music of the Ainur. There's an accent mark over it.
I understand.
The music of the Ainur.
If your old Elvish is a little rusty.
And the way that happens, the way that transpired was there were no other senses. There were no other senses. So it's not like they were all blind vegetables. It's that there were no other senses besides their sense of sound. So all basically the God of that universe has all his like created like angels basically, and they are like making music through like their existence and their consciousness. They're like making music which, unbeknownst to them, is literally creating the world. So like there's different ones who are like, they call it the music of the Ainur. Did I say that already? That's how I started. They're making music that's like creating all these things.
You don't like this subject at all.
And so like the god, his name is Eru, Eru. The god like is weaving all their music together into like a harmonious song to shape the world together. Which I think that's like just a
very poetic,
beautiful poetic picture.
Yeah.
Obviously has no bearing on reality, but it's a beautiful poetic picture, I think.
Well, it does a little bit, because you happen to hold similar views that music is the best of all senses.
Well, right, but I don't believe that like music is like the way that the world was created. So you think
it's better than our sense of touch, all right? You think it's better than taste?
Taste, yeah, definitely.
Smell.
I would rather, we all just drink beige, flavorless smoothies than not have music.
Why do it have to be beige?
It's from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
What makes them beige? All right. Anyway, so you think it's better than touch, taste, smell, sight?
Yeah, that one is high up there, because because only after the music of the Ainur did they like were their eyes opened to like see what they had created, and they were like astonished like at what they had created. So it was almost like the sight was like the sight of what their music had made was like
how
the only thing that topped it.
How are you gonna make music if you can't see the instruments?
Just ask Stevie Wonder. How long were you holding on to that one? Okay, well, we're talking about a hypothetical situation where there are no other senses. That's what we're talking about.
Maybe you learn to play the instrument,
Like,
then you go
like,
blind.
do you remember in that Star Trek when they find the alien life and Spock is like, or
That's
maybe it's
every
McCoy.
single Star
They're-
Trek.
Well, yeah, but there's a specific one, and I think it's Dr. McCoy who's like, alien life is completely alien to humanoids in every way, and like they were just these little critters that like they had completely
Tribbles?
different consciousness. They had a completely different way of functioning. They had a completely different basis for what they were made of. Everything. And it's like they're completely fundamentally different. That's kind of the world I'm talking about, is one where like we are completely fundamentally different and we do not have the other senses to even potentially have those things. So it's not like we have the sense of sight, but we're blind. It's like we don't have the sense of, if we could only have one of our senses, basically, and we would be different things. This is very philosophical and metaphysical.
Okay, so it's pretty clear that you stand that it's the best of all, and since music is sound, which we hear, that's the most important sense to you.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you.
But that doesn't qualify for the argument of like, oh, if you had to lose one of your senses, which would it be? That's a different argument. That's what I was trying to say, to clarify. Just a second ago.
Switching gears here, though, into a different topic. You hold this high view of music.
High view.
Very high view. Help us understand, Silas. That's a very podcasty thing to say.
I don't understand any of you. That's the problem.
Help us understand. Help the listeners understand.
Let the listener understand.
Why do you have this high view? Is it that the music is taking you on this emotional journey? Is it that the words of the songs are telling a story that you resonate with? What is the reason that you hold this high view of music?
I'd say it could be both.
Or what
of
are
those
some of
things.
the reasons if you don't have a
Could
specific
definitely
reason?
be. I definitely don't have one specific reason. It could be both of those things, and the ability of music to just make you feel something that you don't like. Like, I don't know. There's something about music that is just like woven into the human soul, even through the scriptures, I think you see. That's just woven into the human soul, that it's like, it's good for people. It is like good for your soul. Oh, please. I have no soul. It's good for your soul, like your spiritual, your spirit. Like, it's good for you in that sense.
Yeah, it's something that
It's like taken as a given thing.
though there's lots of different genres of music is somewhat of an international language, perhaps even a universal language.
I think, yeah. Whatever that means.
Meaning, you can experience one piece of music, and someone who is from a different
Planet.
Sure. Elon Musk, hit us up. Collab. Someone from a different place can listen to that same piece of music, but do you get the same message from that piece of music?
No, not necessarily. Some people, they hear the music that I would listen to and they'd be like, I like it. It's not like they even dislike it. They're just like, this doesn't mean anything to me.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't do anything for me. Like, I don't like it. Like, and then likewise, I would hear other people's music and be like, that doesn't do anything for me. I don't like it.
Like, who's some classical composers that you like?
Well, I don't listen to classical music a lot, so don't get the image that I do. Let the reader understand. But if somebody put a gun to my head and said, pick your favorite classical composer, I'm going to spit out some names. Debussy, obviously. I think Clair de Lune is probably everybody knows it, and it's very common, but like, I don't know if you can top its like perfectly pristine quality. But he has many other works that many other works that I really like. Eric Satie, with the what are they called? The gymnopédies. He's French.
Well, you pronounce
I don't
that
know how
pretty
to.
well.
It's probably not pronounced it right, but I pronounced it elegantly. Let's put it that way. His works were very, very nice. I like those. And then one of my favorite pieces is by a fellow named Elgar. It's the Elgar Cello Concerto. If you ever have time, listen to the first 8 minutes of it. That's really all you need. And then like the rest is just like bonus. The first 8 minutes of it are like just perfection.
Yeah. So
you're asking me you're grilling me about all this stuff.
well, I'm curious.
Don't you have any feelings about music? Do you just feel nothing when you listen to it?
Yes, it just is an empty hall that it reverberates inside my soul, and then it comes out, and I'm like,
What about in 1917 when he sang Poor Wayfaring Stranger?
Well, that's different.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I have many songs that are like that.
No, I agree with you that music is a very, very good blessing that we can enjoy as people. I don't know if I am ready to put it above all the other things that we enjoy, like sight.
I mean, what would
smell.
you put as your, maybe, just thinking, what would you put as your top? And again, this is not you're losing all other senses. This is the other senses don't exist.
I'd probably choose sound as well, actually. Just because that implies the ability that you would be able to understand things.
So you want to understand things.
Yeah, understanding through listening and through hearing would be enjoyable.
Yeah.
Over the other things. Now
But then again,
that's
even
you
that,
holding a gun to my head saying choose.
because having sight would imply understanding as well. You know?
Right.
There's this one. I mean,
it's a balance.
It's just about finding that balance.
It's a balance.
I'll leave you with this. Any of those ability to understand, I like that point. That it's like there are plenty of experiences that are purely auditory, and there are even experiences that are purely visual. There's this game, video game called Inside. There's no dialogue, there's no cutscenes, there's no anything. You just start the game as this little like boy, and then it's like a side scroller, like platformer, but the visuals are like very like artistic. It's like, animated like CG, very artistic. And it's just everything's dark silhouettes, shadowy, really intense. And there's no dialogue at any point in the story. There's no, text screens, anything. It's purely a visual experience that you are understanding the story, piecing together the story as you just go through the game and progress. So it's kind of like that like there are things that are purely visual and you understand, or purely auditory and you understand. But then it's like Ratatouille. You put them together, and what do you get? Fireworks.